Hello everybody. Hello everybody. I would like to know if you hear me. Please can you write? I don't know if you can hear me. Hello, can you hear me? Yes? Okay then. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Hi Donatella.
Can you hear me? Is my microphone working?
Yes, your microphone is working.
Good.
Yes, good.
I'll switch it off for the moment.
Yes, and what about Paula? Paula, do you want to have a try with your microphone? Yes, please, you can because you are a presenter now, but we can't hear you. Do you want to have a try, Paola? Paola, we can't hear you. Paola, try to speak because I...
Try.
Who is speaking?
Let's. Paola.
Oh,
Hello.
Paola, yes, now I can listen to you, yeah. Okay, so my microphone is not working well?
I can. Your voice is clear.
Okay.
Probably we are very close.
Okay. And what about the other participants? It's a bit too loud. Wow. Okay, yes, but at the moment it's only me on the screen, yes. And now there is Paola as well. And I don't know if Donatella has the webcam. Yeah. Okay. If I realize in doing it, I will share my screen. Can you? Okay. So welcome to this learning event, and it will be about how partnerships and ICT innovate primary school teaching and learning. I've been teaching for more than 25 years. Yes, it's strange because I'm very young. And anyway, I was born as a physical education teacher, and I like to work with my students, trying to let them be engaged and have fun. This learning event will talk about how primary school students can improve their skill and their way to approach to school, how they can reach the competencies they need to have at the end of primary school years, and the potential of ICT and partnerships in teaching and learning. All the strategies we can use to innovate primary school teaching, and how we can redesign our students' learning with ICT devices and games and all the methodologies we can use to let them use thinking skills. At the moment, I have a dyslexic student, and I also use ICT with my special needs student, and I found ICT very useful for that. I use lots of web tools also for him, so I will share with you all the web tools I try, and I will give you some suggestions and also some examples. Some projects are mine, but some projects are my colleagues. And this is
International primary school.
This is my student, crazy student. So in the latest years, the school is changing because from a traditional and passive school, we are going to innovative and active school. And from teaching based on knowledge, we are going to teaching based on competencies. So all the competencies that regard subjects, but also competencies, the key competencies. And then all the devices, so from pencils, books, blackboards, and dictionaries, paper dictionaries, and encyclopedia, we are moving to whiteboards, e-books, tablets, smartphones, online dictionaries, Wikipedia, computational thinking. Primary school teachers have an important role in education because we give the basis of education. So we form the future citizens together with the nursery school teachers. I think that among you there are also nursery school teachers. But we must consider that our way of teaching must be totally different from the past because students at the moment are completely different. They are immersed in news, informations, they use lots of devices, but sometimes they use this ICT not in the best way. And sometimes this ICT brings them out of the world, even if they are connected. I always see people, youngsters, that are together in the same place, but they are chatting by themselves with mobiles. So this is quite common. And sometimes students only use ICT with already prepared programs, and so without creating or producing anything. And sometimes teachers need to be more trained because they need to be trained to teach in a different way from the past. For those reasons, we need to train ourselves to teach differently and especially to plan our activities, our programs, considering the Bloom's taxonomy. So not only remembering and understanding, but also applying, analyzing, evaluating, and then creating. That's very important. So we have to teach our students to use ICT in the best way because ICT can facilitate. So we have not to use ICT only to use ICT, but because ICT helps. And then we must help our students to reach their competencies. So we must engage them, and we must ask to solve problems, to compare, to analyze, to produce things, to be creative. So we need to help them also to communicate and to collaborate. That's really, I think, the most important thing we must teach. We have problems also as adults to collaborate and to communicate with people because sometimes we think that we have communicated everything but something is missing, or we think that we collaborate, we know how to collaborate, but it's not true. We do by ourselves and we only say something. So collaborating is something different. It means to plan together, to brainstorm together, and to write together, to create together. Look this, because it's really fun.
I love eTwinning!
Yes, because eTwinning has all these things. eTwinning can give you the possibility to teach through skills, to teach through real communication, and to motivate your students to learning. So in this learning event, I would like you to be interactive, and it's impossible that I ask you to play games because I'm a physical education teacher, but there will be some small tasks, not very complicated, but small tasks, and these tasks will give you the possibility to create games, activities for the other participants, but also to play with the games created by the other participants. I will share my experiences, but I'd like you to to share your previous experiences, because the best way to learn is peer to peer and sharing good practices. So I really believe in this sentence: I never teach my pupils, I only attempt to provide the condition in which they can learn. So we must provide, and one of the first tasks I will ask you to accomplish is to redesign the learning environment. And that is very important, because once my colleague said, but don't you think that students' world is only seeing the backs of their classmates? Yes, they don't see faces, they only see the backs, and that's not very good. And so I think that we can think about that, and we can yes, we can share these. We can have the opportunities to learn from each other. Now I would like to ask to Donatella. Donatella, she's the head of the Italian National Support Service, and she will talk to you about her experience in eTwinning, and she will talk about the competencies that students, primary school students, can gain and can achieve with the eTwinning projects and with partnerships and ICT. So Donatella, if you are ready, I can give you the word. You can you can talk. Donatella, you are here.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So I let you the word, so you can start
Yeah.
your. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I have to tell you straight away that I haven't got any slides. Also because I'm just talking about my experience. I've been coordinating the Italian NSS since the beginning of the action. So I've seen things change progressively during the years. One thing I must say straight away, what Marina said, that primary school is important. Yes, indeed, it's very important, because it's when you lay the foundation, for all future learning, that pupils will perform in other levels of schools. One thing that surprised me at the very beginning of eTwinning, that in comparison to other European states, we were, quite different, in the sense that the registration, from primary schools and nursery schools, in comparison to registration from secondary schools, was quite lower. And well, in other states, everybody said, oh, well, with primary school is easier because they haven't got the pressure that secondary schools have. So that's why it is relatively easier for a primary school to join eTwinning. Well, in Italy it was quite the opposite, in the sense we had so many registration from secondary schools, but very few at the beginning from the lower level of schooling, lower level of education. And this, quite surprised me. Also because our national government had already equipped especially primary schools with a lot of technology, interactive whiteboards, for instance. But somehow primary schools didn't seem to take advantage of the technology present in school. The big deterrent, were the fact that perhaps many teachers thought that collaborating in a foreign language was very difficult, because young children perhaps haven't got the expertise of older students, and also they thought as well that the knowledge of ICT of smaller pupils weren't so great to allow them to take an active role. Of course, in this situation from the very, very beginning, we had exceptions, and there is pre-primary school teachers that since the beginning of eTwinning was very involved with the pupils in eTwinning projects. And also I still remember a teacher, at the time she was working in the south of Italy. Now she has moved to the north, that straight away applied some imagination to eTwinning projects, which I think it is a very important asset. Yes, it's true. Maybe primary school children don't have such a fluency in a foreign language, both in speaking and in writing. But she immediately thought that she could address the problem by doing a type of project that didn't involve any complicated lexical structure. She was working on concept maps, which allow her, to work at the level of a very simple vocabulary. So all the side of the language involved, with grammar and complicated lexical structures was avoided. Also, another thing that one has to take into consideration is the fact that you can still, cooperate and collaborate using a type of language which is not textual. For example, there are many projects now that involve images and or songs, music, this type of language. Of course, things, have changed through the years, especially in very recent years, in the past 2 or 3 years. The number of primary schools and pre-primary schools registered in eTwinning have increased significantly, especially because we have always adopted the strategy of presenting eTwinning not as an addition, something that requires you, to do extra work, although I would be telling a lie if I didn't take in consideration that motivated teachers do put, extra hours, but at times even because they find the work in eTwinning so rewarding that they are almost, compelled, to spend time preparing and training and trying new things and something like that. But going back to what I was saying, we tend, to present eTwinning as something that can be fully integrated in the school curriculum. And in this, I believe that is true. It's not that we are trying, to trick teachers in believing they can do something that is not possible. A turning point for us was at national level in 2012. The ministry section, which has got responsibility for the school curriculum, published a document called Indication for the Curriculum of the Basic School, Scuola di Base, which is all the period that goes from pre-primary up, to the age of 16, which coincide with when education is obligatory in Italy. And as I was reading the document, something really struck me, and my first reaction was, gosh, they are talking about eTwinning, because as I was reading the document, every sentence, reminded me of what teachers did in eTwinning, in the fact that, the concept of the school curriculum about content somehow is a kind of notion that certain teachers impose on themselves, because in actual fact our ministry in this document told teachers that was important was that pupils, developed, certain competencies, for all the areas, that compose, somehow the school curriculum. So, for instance, and you're more specialist than I am, when you're dealing, for instance, with history, I mean, it's not so important that young children memorize, the names of the 7 kings of Rome, or the fact that what the Phoenicians did. Perhaps in Italy we are quite extreme, with our classical heritage. And but what is important even in history is to have a notion of time, and it is not unusual for primary schools, to work on this concept about grandparents and the people that sort of came before our grandparents, the parents of the children, and also on the whole concept of sources. How do you know that a certain thing happened? And all this can be really reconnected to an activity that you can do in eTwinning, but at the same time the whole notion that there is a much wider world in which you live in, that is not only your home or your area of town and your school, your town, your country, but even this notion of space and the way the world is organized, in the sense that there are countries, there are continents, and even in that eTwinning projects can be very useful in acquiring, this sense of belonging, and also of multiple belongings, and also in many different areas, of the traditional curriculum. If you think of essential notions of mathematics or arithmetics, rather in primary school, you can have, the children work on a real everyday problem, like saying, I don't know, we have to organize a party, and we want this and that, and balloons cost so much. Anyway, you can invent all sorts of activities in a twinning project that help you bring about what the curriculum is asking you to do, but also at the same time in taking care of the competencies that you are trying to make your pupils achieve. At the same time, you're also doing on some education on anything which has got to do with ICT, from the real hands-on activity on getting the children to learn, certain programs. Maybe young children, some young children are not so equipped, with technology at home. Maybe now even primary school children, have a smartphone or have access to internet connection or something like that. But it is a way as well, in starting, all the discourse about, information, how you get hold of information, how can you trust information that you find in internet, and so on. And another boost, for participation of primary schools in eTwinning has been, the launch of a plan for digital education in schools, which has been published by our ministry. And there as well, there is an accent, placed on technology, both, for participation and collaboration. There is, a strong accent on coding, but on this I think Paola Arduini will say something. So it is important, to start this at a very early age, not because we want to have children that spend times sort of sitting at the desk, connected to internet, and in actual fact, in many projects as well, outdoor activities are connected, with the type of project that you can do in eTwinning: observation of nature, comparison of different plants, or what grows in the schoolyard, and the type of stimuli that you can include in an eTwinning project are really many, and there is no limitation whatsoever or what you can think of. And also, what I would like, to recommend to you. Don't think that because you're dealing with small children in the first level of education, that your projects, have to be banal, or that they have to be extremely traditional or false in a way. You can involve your student in real activities, and a project which is not banal is not necessarily it is complicated. In the sense there are many sort of scientific projects that are suitable for this level of education, and can give very good results, as well as other projects that are more creative, the construction of stories, and also they can be really intercurricular in the sense of involved more discipline. Well, I realize that there is a lot to say on this topic, but I don't want to take too much time. And I really hope that you, between with the exchange that you'll have amongst yourself in this learning event, you come up with many more ideas. The fact that you are enthusiastic and interested, is proven by the very fact that you joined this learning event. So for me, there is only to wish you a fruitful session, and also good work in the rest of the learning event. I thank you all, for listening to me, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Donatella. Your contribution was really interesting, and I think that you underlined the main points of primary school work in eTwinning. In fact, my students, even if they are not so good in English, in writing and speaking, but they find very interesting to learn English, to speak with real people, with the real youngsters. And they like to prepare production and creation that can be presented to other children, not only to the teacher. So that is very important. And thank you very much, Donatella. Thank you very much for your contribute. And I would like to introduce to you Paola Arduini, and she's an eTwinning ambassador, and she is very expert of innovation in school. And at the moment, she's working in the education minister in Italy, and so she's exactly in the office that planned the digital plan for schools. So I would like to introduce her and to let her speak about this plan. Paola?
I am.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
I just draw. Can you see the presentation? Can you see the file on the screen?
Yes, we see. Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
I can't. Yes, okay. Well, I'm a primary teacher, just as Marina, and this year, starting from the 1st September, I started to work as a teacher. I think they say on secondment. That is, I'm not teaching this year, but I'm working very hard to the implementation of this plan, the Italian National Plan for Digital School. That is very big plan from the government, and as this learning event is about ICT in the school, the idea is to give you an idea on what's changing in Italian schools. Okay, this plan is funded by 1.1 billion euros to implement innovation in pedagogy, because it's a 3 to 5 year education plan that was approved by the Italian Ministry of Education, and with a budget of such big budget, and was launched in October 2015, and now is being implemented in every Italian school. It's not just for a group, it's not for just some schools, it's not an experimental plan, but is to be applied because it has got the status of a law in every school of the Italian, from every state school in Italy. It's called the Piano Nazionale Scuola Digitale, this PNSD, and he wants to promote innovation in pedagogy in a digital age. That's very important. It's not about implementation of technology, it's not just to buy computers, but to change the teaching learning approach. In the introduction of the document, eTwinning is quoted as one of the best practice of digital school, as a best practice for innovative methodology and rethinking of teaching learning spaces. So it's supposed like just a model for every teachers and every school in Italy. The introduction also says that it's about education in the digital age, and this plan answers the call for a vision of education in the digital age, directly linked to the challenges that all of society faces in applying and promoting lifelong and life-wide learning in both formal and non-formal context. So it's very wide, and it wants to apply in each educational context, starting from the age of 3 to the long life learning, so also adults learning. It's a matter of cultural education, because it says that simply introducing more computers in schools, however urgent it may now be, because in Italy the technology is very low and very poor, it's not enough anyway. The plan is not a simple order for deployment of technology. No educational process takes place without intensive teacher-student interaction, and technology cannot be separated from this fundamental human relationship. I like very much that he started quoting with this quote, because it says we are not just putting computers in a classroom waiting for the best results for teaching. The teaching is still seen as a relationship between teacher and student. And the plan applies to all areas of the school, because it talks about a new concept of the school that is an open space for learning. And when we talk about an open space of learning, it's not just the physical space, but the environment that can be applied, for example, as was quoted as an example, for the eTwinning, for distance learning, like the project made between schools in Europe. And in this vision, technology is not the topic, is not a subject, but is empowering, habitual, ordinary, and ready to serve the school, primarily in activities aimed at training and learning, but also the technology we can call revolution, starting from our level of technology improvement in administration, and it touches all the areas of the schools: classroom, common spaces, laboratories, private and informal space. The plan is structured in 3 main areas: it has got 9 parts collected in 35 key actions, which encompasses everything from changes to buildings, learning environments, and it's moving down. So the main areas are tools, and the second is skills and contents, and training and sustainability or support for the plan. The tools are, when they talk, the tools are the mainly broadbanded Wi-Fi, and that's very important that they start talking about how to help schools to provide broadband and Wi-Fi to every Italian school. Consider that currently only 30% of schools have access to a fast broadband connection. So it's very important before everything to start about the connection in internet as seen as a right for students and teachers. Then there are the learning environments. The intention is to change teaching and learning in Italy by changing learning environments. That means classroom. So the idea is to give creative spaces, install creative spaces in primary schools, for example. This plan is that every school in Italy should benefit from this, with a budget that is very important of 500 million euros. The main aspects that affect primary schools are the funding for starting creative digital atelier planned by each school, innovative libraries, and innovative classroom. And the plan was supported by giving the schools the ideas like photos, galleries, and school kits. That is how to plan the kits that you know in eTwinning to help schools to plan their learning and new learning environments. The second area is about competence and content. There is a framework of digital skills, and they include like innovative competence and contents, coding, robotics, computational thinking, social media literacy, legal issues, digital citizenship, and so on. Very strong accent is on computational thinking. That is we start in primary schools with the special project was called Programma Il Futuro, that is based on code.org, and this project is involved with around 600,000 students and 10,000 teachers. The goal is to have 1 million students, to all the students in Italy, having at least some experience of coding in their curriculum. And there is a huge interest towards training for teachers on computational thinking, both with MOOC and in service training. So we are now in Italy, we are having a lot of experience that primary teachers and pre-primary teachers are having on using code.org and also Scratch. And there are also a lot of Coder Dojo labs. There is also a lot of attention by eTwinning. We had some in Italian eTwinners at some learning events and some trainings, and some eTwinning projects are rising about it, like eTwin Code. That is a special project on twinning, and these are pictures taken from this project. This is a granny that is working with code.org with a class on a distance from Palermo, Sicily, and the center of Italy. So there are some actions of these 35 that are directly involved in primary, more the action number 4, that is learning environments, action number 7, this creative digital atelier, number 17, that is computational thinking, number 20, that is improving girls in tech, and number 24, that is innovative digital libraries. Each action is accompanied by funding, so there are money that are put to improve this kind of innovation. There a lot of work is now on training, because training for teachers and staff, so also headmasters and staff that work in the administrative office, is seen as vital, and it will be provided there in all the areas of the plan. Many Italian teachers take advantage of Erasmus Plus funding, so we are just connecting the funding given by the Erasmus to visit schools in other country. We are helping the school to apply for this kind of job shadowing or teacher training course to gain ideas about pedagogical innovation, the improvement of digital literacy. Also, initial teacher training will be updated, and they are working in the university to improve the training for the next, the future teachers with this digital plan. A key part of this plan has been the nomination in every school of one of the teachers as an animatore digitale, that is the Italian name, that is a digital ambassador. That is very similar to what the eTwinning ambassador is. These teachers are 8,500, that is one for each school, and was at the first moment seen a pioneer, that it was, the teachers who does very strange things in the school. But now the plan is giving them real authority and motivation to drive the change. So they've got some money and some possibility to improve the changes and the trainings in each school. So this kind of innovation is very new in Italy, is having a key role in the success of the plan. We know that many of these digital ambassadors are in fact eTwinners. They belong to eTwinning, and there are also some groups and a special project for Italian digital ambassador who are in eTwinning. The office where I'm working now is called Innovazione Digitale. The digital innovation is providing support for the introduction of the plan, and we are all teachers and head teachers, so we are just finishing our teaching last day of August, and we are starting, so we are not like government members, we are just teachers that are supporting this action. And our role is a very complicated. We are a group of 6, and with our director we are 7. And our role is to be the bridge between the government policymakers and the school sector. The idea is that good new school already exists. For example, all these teachers that are already using eTwinning and European School Net for their classwork and teacher training are already something that are in the middle of the change. So the idea that eTwinning and PNST are changing really the school in the Italian schools. It's a very complicated thing, but we are having some success. So the idea is continue going on with sharing with others. It should be very interesting to have support and help in confrontation with other European countries that are doing this. So I stop sharing.
Paola, thank you very much for your contribution, and it's very interesting, and thank you for your work. Yes, many changes are occurring now at the moment in Italy, and I think that eTwinning teachers are the ones who already have the skills to work in this direction. In the learning event, we will map this innovation, so I would like you to link all the documents, the similar documents you have in your countries. So at the moment, I think that the webinar is already closing, and I will upload the recording of this webinar, interesting webinar. So thank to Paola for the contribution, and if you have problems or doubts or questions, there is an help desk just on the string above in the learning event. And I hope a very good job in the learning event, and have fun, and have a great learning event. Thank you to all the participants. Bye.
Thank you, it's a good idea. Thank you, Maria.
Bye. Thank you, Paola. Bye bye, everybody.